Danny, just tell control room. Youth in Agriculture Organization. There has to be an O at the end. Oh, no, Youth in Agriculture Organization. Huh?
Say it again.
Youth in Agriculture Organization.
Because here it's just.
Ours you know it, eh?
We need to get the name.
Okay. What? And mine? Must make sure that it's.
Good afternoon, Namibia and the world, and welcome to another session here at the Government Information Center. I am your host on the 21st of February 2022. My name is Shianwa Desire Gahiha, and the topic that we're having this afternoon is Pest Management for Crop Produce at Subsistence Farming level. I'm sure a lot of us are into subsistence farming, whether we like it or not. We are Africans, and we've got our hand in the cookie jar one way or another. So before we get into that, we would like to call on our Deputy Minister of Health
And Social Services, that is
the one that is going to be giving
as the COVID update for.
this afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Madam Moderator. I'm very well, thank you very much.
It's good to see you again.
Thank you. Good afternoon, fellow Namibians. The update for today is as follows. We announce 24 new positive cases from 1,226 results in the last 24 hours reporting cycle, representing 2% positivity ratio. Amongst the 24 new confirmed cases, 14 are males and 10 are females. The youngest one is 8 years, while the oldest case is 93 years. The new COVID-19 positive cases are geographically distributed as follows. Omaheke 10, and they are all 10 from Hobabes. Oshodonjupa 6, 3 from Grootfontein, 2 Oshuarongo, and 1 from Okahanja. Erongo 4, 2 are from Wolfish Bay, and the other 2 are from Swakop Mund. Comas 3 from Windhoek. Karas 1 from Keetmanshoop. We are reporting cases from 5 regions. Among the confirmed cases, 9 are learners from different schools. 2 cases are fully vaccinated, of which 1 received a booster dose, while 22 cases are not vaccinated, accounting for 91.7% of the total confirmed cases. 8 cases from Karas region have recovered. That brings the total number of active cases to 2,604. 52 cases are currently hospitalized across 9 regions. 4 hospitalized cases are fully vaccinated, while 48 are not vaccinated, constituting 92.3% of all hospitalized cases. 3 cases are in ICU, and none of the ICU patients is vaccinated. The distribution of hospitalization of confirmed cases per region is as follows: Zambezi 13, Ohangwena 10, Erongo 8, Komas 6, with 3 in ICU, Omusati 7, Oshana 3, Oshikoto 2, Omaheke 2, and Kavango East 1. We have not recorded any death during the period under review. By the 19th of February this year, a total of 429,405 persons aged 18 years and older have received 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, representing 29.2% of the target population, which is 1,471,973. A total of 121,915 people have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, while 248,191 adults have received 2 doses of other vaccine types. Hence, 370,106 adults have completed their vaccination, translating to 25.1% of the target population. 8,965 children aged 12 to 17 years have received 1 dose of the Pfizer vaccine, representing 3% of the target population of 307,298. Of these, 1,664 are fully vaccinated. Therefore, the cumulative number of people vaccinated with the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine for both adults and children is 438,370, of which 371,177 are fully vaccinated, translating to 20.9% of the total target population. That's 20.9%. 24,391 people have received a COVID-19 vaccine booster dose. Moving on, Director of Proceedings, the summary of the national update as of 20 February is as follows. Cumulative newly confirmed individuals, 157,034. Newly confirmed individuals, 24. And as I said earlier on, we are not reporting new reinfections today. Cumulative cases, including reinfections, stands now at 159,101. Recoveries, 152,480, which is giving us a recovery rate of 97.1%. Active cases, 2,604. Cumulative COVID-19 vaccine first dose, 438,370. Cumulative COVID-19 vaccine second dose, 249,855. Cumulative COVID-19 vaccine completed, 371,770. COVID-19 deaths, 3,674. COVID-19 related deaths, 328, bringing the total number of deaths to 4,002. Total samples tested, 947,400. Active contacts, 652. Cumulative number of people quarantined, 88,186, and 87,661 have been discharged from quarantine facilities, leaving us with 525 people who are currently in quarantine facilities. Dear moderator, that concludes the update for today, and I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mwenyangwe, for the update for this afternoon. It is always a pleasure to see you. And we applaud the fact that you continue to remind our Namibian people that COVID is still amongst us. And very much so, we are required to make sure that we practice the regulations that have been put in place to try and assist us to be able to minimize the effects of COVID on our nations. So please do remember to continuously wash your hands with running water and soap, disinfect the surfaces that you are touching, that you are working on, also sanitize your hands and practice social distancing. Getting back to this afternoon's topic, as we said, we are speaking on the levels of subsistence farming, and most of us are involved in this one way or another. And today we are looking at pest management for crop produce. In the studio, I have Mr. Haikali and Ndatulumukwa, and he is the executive chairman for the Youth in Agriculture Organization, YAO. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
We also have the deputy director for plant health in the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform. She is Ms. Margaret Matengu. Good afternoon, ma'am, and thank you for being with us this afternoon. We've had years where drought has affected our country, and once we received good rains, we were honestly bombarded with pest issues that came along with these rains, if one would call it that. But now this afternoon, we would like to ask various questions. Maybe from these questions, the answers could help a farmer some way, or could help you educate a farmer some way. So please do be reminded that we are allowing call-ins. It is a national topic, as I always say, and our number in the studio is 061 400 397. We will be allowing these calls at 1:30, but you can also communicate with us on our social media platforms. That is MICT, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That is on Facebook, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That's on Facebook. On our YouTube channel, we are at MICT Namibia. That's the YouTube channel, MICT Namibia. To kick off the questions here, Ms. Matengu, we would like to ask you to kindly give us an overview of pest control in Namibia at a subsistence farming level. And we can try and focus, let's say, on a time period between 2015 and 2021.
Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me to this place. My name is Margaret Matengu. I'm the Deputy Director responsible for plant health in Namibia. I'll just give you the overview of the plant pests and diseases in Namibia. Namibia has been one of the countries which has been continuously under threat in terms of crop production with the plant pests and diseases. These are the pests of economic importance. We say economic importance because they cause a lot of losses.
Yeah.
Normally, these pests comes in, we call them transboundary pests. They are pests which come in through the movement, more especially with the import. As much as we are gaining much foreign, currency through this, foreign earnings through this import, and the export, we also receive a lot of introduction for plant pests and diseases. I'm saying that because if you look at the fall armyworm, for example, in 2016 it was reported in Nigeria. By 2017 it was already in Namibia, affecting our crops. So we have those pests of economic importance. We have the fall armyworm, which I just mentioned. We have the African armyworm. We have the tomato leaf miner, we have the fruit fly, we have the African migratory locust, and we have the brown locust, which is currently researched again in the Nikaras region. So we have the frequency of incidents of pests in Namibia. What the government is doing, we are embarking on the surveillance. We carry out surveillance and monitoring for early detection of the plant pest and disease. We are also offering trainings to farmers, just for them to be aware of the pests which are in Namibia, and also to apply the integrated pest management as one of the control mechanisms. But what we are doing, these are much in the pests which is, if it's not severe. If it's severe, then the government has to embark in. But we always react immediately when we have the locust, because with the locust we cannot allow it to form buds and also to form swamps and fly around. So once we just hear about, or any report, we receive a report that we have the locust at this place, we always make sure that we fight the battle. So yes, in a nutshell, that's an overview on the plant pests in Namibia.
Okay. Mr. Ndatulumukwa, we would like to know from you, how is climate change and pest control interrelated?
Well, I would say whatever happens in the agricultural sector is a multi-threat factor of the climate change. And the climate change and extreme weather conditions have an impact on agriculture and the pest itself. But since the pests and the disease are generally adaptable living organisms, and they change their patterns or their generations or their movement can be triggered by the temperature, and the temperature is one of the main factors of the climate change. And so, for example, the impact is associated with the climate that we are experiencing during that year. For example, if you look in 2016, when we had the Luvi worms, it was because we received a flood earlier than expected, and also if you look at last year, at the previous year, we received the locust, and it was because of the delayed rain that we have received. So, and also with the increase of the temperature in the northern pole of Africa, so sometimes it triggers these pests and to reallocate from extreme hot temperature to the southern side of where they are experiencing there is a cooler temperature. For example, we experience locusts and so on. So the emphasis is that the climate change have an impact on the pests and also on crop production, and therefore it's very necessary that we enhance the capacity building among the farmers or among the rural area where the subsistence farm is taking place, so that we can better know how we can prepare and what kind of pests that and how we can prevent them from affecting the crops, as Meme have said, that they have really serious consequences on economic returns and the cost, not just on the entire farmers, but also on the entire agricultural sector.
Okay. Wow. I'm definitely learning something new today. Honestly, especially when you look at a holistic picture where when you have locusts, consider the fact that the temperatures in another area might actually be the cause of the migration. So it's more like a migration of pests, not only due to the immigration, but due to migration caused by temperatures and so on. As we said,
maybe just to add on top of what he said, with the climate, you know, the variability. When we are talking about climate, we are talking about issues of precipitation. Yes, the rainfall, the temperature will be rising, you know. So some of these things, they create conducive environment for the pests to reestablish themselves.
yes.
And also, that movement is too also part of it. So you find that also the host itself, the physiology of the host, like the plant itself, when it changes also, it attracts some of the pests to come in.
Exactly. The conditions around it changes, which creates, as you said, a conducive environment. And that is quite important. I mean, if as human beings, we tend to be comfortable in conducive environments, what more not for pests and so on. You know, I think when we talk about conducive environments and so on, it brings me to my next question, because I'm sure there are pest management strategies, and these are dependent on various elements. And we would like to know from the both of you, actually, what are the examples of these strategies that are used in Namibia? We can start with Mr. Haikali.
Well, since we are talking about subsistence farming, it's also very important for us to point out, you know, the traditional way of these kinds of pest control, because most of the subsistence farming, we can't ignore it because it's happening in rural areas, and this is where many of the farmers are also applying the traditional way of pest control. One of the famous ones is like crop rotation, where they try to rotate the plantation of the crops with the crops that do not have a host of pests, such as maybe the soya beans and so on. Once you plant your spinach or so on, or maybe there was something that you planted and you have realized that they are getting infected. The next moment the farmer is always encouraged maybe to plant soya beans, because they don't have a conducive host to have those pests. And also we have such components like the integration. The integration happens in our main field, and many can relate. It's a concept whereby once you are planting mahango, in between you are planting, for instance, the pumpkins, and this is made either the pumpkins that to absorb the kind of the minerals from the underground that will otherwise not be absorbed by the mahango, or sometimes so that it can attract other kinds of insects, so that the insect will not end up going on to mahango. For instance, is the way we collect omangili. I am not sure of the scientific name. Omangili, we always find it from in between the pumpkin leaves. So where and other many, so it's kind of a prevention, so that we can prevent these kinds of pests to infect the plants of our own production. One also main important concept is that it's called the physical integration, where you are preventing the insects or the pests to reach out to the kind of to your field. So in most of the subsistence, you will find many farmers are digging holes around their field. So this is for instance now when you have maybe worm pests, the worm pests that affect the mahango. So the farmer will dig holes, so that by the time they are moving or they are relocating from one field to one field, on behalf of reaching out to the Mahangu, then they will fall in those in the trenches. The last important one, and this is very amazing. It was used in the olden days, but now it's kind of getting out of fashion. But it's very, very in the modernized countries they are using it. Is that, for example, the louvworms? The farmers used to collect ants, the eggs of the ants and the ants, so that and then by the time the crops are germinating, and then they will release those eggs and the ants into the field, so that if there are those louvworms that are absorbing from the underground, they will be eaten up by those ants, and then once they go underground, they also form part of the manure. So it used to be practiced. Some also practice it, but it's kind of maybe it's because of us inheriting the traditional way also of preventing some of insects and the disease. It's kind of going out of fashion. So I just wanted to highlight that those are kinds of some of the concepts that are being used in the subsistence way of farming. Maybe I will leave so that Meme can add.
Yes, maybe you can add on to that.
In Namibia, we are currently, as a ministry, we are currently developing a plant health strategy. Plant health strategy. This is a strategy which is going to be aligned to the SADC plant health strategy. Within each strategy, because every crop behave different, it has its own pests. Within each plant pest, what we are going to do, we are going to have an action plan of how are we going to control this pest, how are we going to approach this pest, and how are we going to control this pest. So this is what we are planning at the ministry. But we still have some of the plants, for example, in 2017, when we had the fall annual. If you read about the history of the fall annual, you will hear that the host plant is maize. But in our case, when it came, it was also feeding on pearl millet, mahangu, and sorghum. So what we are saying is that we need just to come up with a strategy, and within that strategy, we come up with the action plan, and then we apply some of the activities. We are talking about the issues of training, we are talking about the issue of surveillance, monitoring, we are, the early detection of all those things, and also to make sure that at least we attach the budget to say, for us to implement this strategy, this is how much it was going to cost us. So that's where we are at the ministry.
Okay. Mr. Haikali, we come back to you, and we would like you to please explain in detail the effects of some of these pest management systems that farmers employ, including at subsistence farming level.
Well, controlling pests, it's very necessary, just as it's just as the way humans require eating. So for you to maximize the production of your crops, you have to ensure that you put in place some components or some varieties, just to ensure that you maximize your yield of production, and also your plants remain healthy, and also that you prevent all these kinds of pests. So, for example, for the subsistence farming, the common one that is currently going on is weeding, where they are removing maybe unwanted plants, or they are also taking care in terms of crop trapping or insect trapping, to ensure that as their mahango or their maize is growing and up to yield, then they are going to harvest very healthy produces, and they are not going to be affected badly. So my point, the point that I'm trying to emphasize here is that all the farmers need to keep a watch, or they need to maintain their crops, they need to maintain their fields, to ensure that the production will be of value, their crops are not going to be affected, because if you did not control the pests, or you did not remove the unwanted plants in your field, they are going to have a very high cost on your
yield.
on your harvest, because not many of them will germinate, not many of them will give you very healthy produces, and then not all of them will utilize the resources of the manure that we have implanted in the
soil,
in the soil. And it's as much more as I have indicated. Some of the unwanted plants already attract some pests, the root pests under the ground, and therefore, like many of the grasses, that's why many of the people operating at the subsistence farming, they remove those kinds of grasses just to ensure that the pests will not reallocate from the grass to your crop of production. Yes.
Okay. Now, as I said, it's an educative session, actually. I'm learning a whole lot, especially with regards to the interchangeable type of systems that are being put in place to try and ensure the yielding of maximum crop from the most harvests. Now, Ms. Matengu, we would like to know when and where should a subsistence farmer report pest alarms?
Okay, thank you very much. But before I come to that, let me just add on what my brother just mentioned with regard to the pest management system, where we look at the things like crop rotation, weed management, where we are looking at the intercropping. I think the whole idea is for us, like if we look at crop rotation, we just want to break that circle. Of the pests, because the pests which can feed on maize, if you plant a leguminous plant, for example, you are starving that pest. So you are just reducing the density of that pest. And also, like he said, the weeding. You know, much of the pests will find that they can help themselves in the plant material. So the other, so when you do weeding, when you make sure that your field is clean, you are making sure that at least you are eradicating some of the pests. May not eradicate totally, but you are reducing. So these are some of the natural control methods which farmers can put into place. And also which we can advise farmers. Maybe the other thing is like keeping your plant as hygienic. You know, it's very, very important. So here we are talking by saying we need to plant pure to type of seeds. When we know that when we are planting this, we are going to get this type of crop. So because there are some of the seeds which are seed-borne, they come being affected already. And this when we talk about the disease aspect, not the pest itself. But the disease aspect, you find that the plant is growing into 10-year-old. So this is some of the things which we, as farmers, we need to take into consideration. Coming to your question, we are saying we have the agriculture development centers all over the constituency in Namibia. So if farmers want to report any type of pest, because it's very important for farmers to really report. And like what my brothers have said, we are always saying that, you know, the best fertilizer is the farmer's feed. So the farmer needs to visit his field all the time in order to take some of this. Immediately he detects that there's this type of worm, there's this type of pest, he must report to the nearest agriculture office. We are also saying that maybe sometimes if it's very difficult, any governmental office which is there and which can reach any agriculture offices within the region, so that at least the pest, and we have been receiving some of this information through that. Thank you.
So there we have it. Don't be restricted to just one office, which is basically trying to find a Ministry of Agriculture office. There are many extension offices, and I'm sure if you ask any government office within the region where you are to assist you, they would be open to give you that assistance. We have a comment here from Mr. Richard Kambinda, and he would like to say, with the use of biological pesticides in Namibia that are deemed to be safer than DDT and Dieltrin, some Namibians endeavor too much on red locusts. Is this practice recommended by the Ministry of Agriculture? Let's just read that again. With the use of biological pesticides in Namibia that are deemed to be safer than DDT and Deltrin, some Namibians endeavor too much on red locusts. Is this practice recommended by the Ministry of Agriculture? I think we will forward that question to Ms. Matengu.
Very much. Yes, what we are doing currently, we have the biopesticides. The biopesticides we are using, they are there to control much of the locusts, for example. We have metarism, which we are currently using. It's unfortunately that the DDT, which has been mentioned, is already banned. So currently, if it's used in Namibia, you'll find that we are using it maybe on the mosquitoes, just to control mosquito, but it's a banned product, it's not being used under farmers' field. So with the biological control, we are also very skeptical because one, we have to know that if the biological, we are talking about bringing something like a pest to come and feed on another pest. So what we need to do when we start registering some of those things, we need to have a thoroughly good research to say with our current environment, if we bring this biological control in the form of a pest, will it come and change its form? Instead of it coming to control, it can be, So normally, there we need to liaise with the better institutions which can assist us in terms of coming up with the research, get a better background, and then is when we can register that, biological pesticides or biological control methods.
Okay. So it's like a cautionary approach towards pest management then, because you run the risk of the pest that is introduced to eliminate one, you could run the risk of it becoming an infestive type of pest. Do I have that correctly?
Yes, and also the pesticides we are using, for example, control this pesticide, the pestis. The pesticides we are using, we are very skeptical when it comes to that. We use less harmful one. The one which are registered under the Code of Conduct and the FAO, that's what we are using in the country. We do the registration of them, we do the distribution of those pesticides. And also, we make sure that our farmers are trained in the safe handling of the pesticides to know if he has to use the pesticides, how they're supposed to handle it, because it can be, even when we are saying it's a yellow label is less harmful, a chemical is a chemical, might differ from, the way you have absorbed it. So it becomes dangerous sometimes.
Okay, okay. Mr. Haikali, coming from a youth perspective, and actually both Mr. Haikali and Ms. Matengu, maybe you can respond to this one, but we'll start with Mr. Haikali. We look at information, and it is of importance that information is comprehensive to the audience that it is administered to. Now, our question is, how do you ensure that this audience that you serve or assist can comprehend the message that you want to send to them, especially if we look at the narrative in which it is communicated?
Well, thank you very much. The Youth in Agriculture organization have developed modalities on communicating and of where farmers can also share their information, and of which the organization also share the information with the farmers to ensure that they all receive all these types of information, and they are very equipped or capacitated to absorb all kinds of agri-related information. And I would just want to highlight, before I talk about the modalities, that we are currently working on the agriculture information system, which will integrate and have all these kinds of information from pest control, from agribusiness, from crop production and everything. So As a mean to communicate better to the farmers and all, or to everyone, we developed modalities such as that while we are working toward the establishment of the information system, we have a Facebook group. It's AgriConnect Namibia. So it's a group where every farmer, if they have a specific question, they will post it, and our service providers or other young people service providers will respond positively.
Yeah.
So we always have engagements, we share the informations with everything, whether it's from agri-related or to pest control. If maybe you have realized that your crops are having yellow leaves, you can either capture, you post it, and then service provider or experts will come to your rescue to say, these are the kinds of, this is the kind of a virus or pests that are affecting your plants, and it can be treated as such. Another thing is we have developed WhatsApp groups, and on these WhatsApp groups, they are portioned into every region, and also form part of the national memberships, where the farmers are also part of it, and they can post the questions, or if the organization have information that we need to disseminate to reach the greater audience, we post those information and we transfer it to them. And we also have a personalized number for one of our secretaries from the national executive team.
Yeah.
So this one is to cater those that do not have access to internet, or those ones that are using that are not using smartphones.
Yes, yes.
So those ones that are operating in that setting can always send their messages, and then we have people that will respond positively to that. And then at the start of this year, we have also established regional farmers clubs. So these regional farmers clubs, each one we have instituted local experts in those specific regions that is dealing with the capacity building and the development of the agricultural sector. So it's kind of a technical expert that if a farmer is having an issue with their crop production, or maybe with any kinds of the disease, of they have realized that the crops in the specific region or specific community are being infected with kind of a virus to their crop producers, they can advise better to the farmers, and then give them vivid information on how they can treat or what kind of chemicals they need. And then we do not operate in isolation. Our experts on the ground are also in contact with the Ministry of Agriculture, Extension Services, of where when they need an extra service provision, they can go to the Ministry of Agriculture, get the information, and go back to the farmers, and they teach them on know-how, and also capacitate them on what kinds of information that the farm requires at that moment in time.
Okay, okay. But before I get to Ms. Matengu, you mentioned farmers clubs,
Yes.
regional farmers clubs.
Yes.
In how many regions are you represented through these farmers clubs?
We are represented in every region of Namibia. We have youth regional clubs, of which the cooperatives fall part of.
Okay.
So in every region we have we have a farmers clubs, which form part of either it's workshops, information disseminations,
Yeah.
exchange, peer-to-peer learning. So it's kind of an information hub of where the farmers comes together to share the knowledge, or to teach one another on how they have dealt with any kind of issue that was affecting their crops. And it's not just about a pesticide, it's also about the agribusiness, the market access, and all other kinds of opportunities that could be available in the agricultural sector.
Okay. Ms. Matengu, do you have anything to add there?
Yes, thank you. with regard to the issue of how information can reach the targeted audience,
Yes.
which now, in this case, we are talking about the subsistence farmers.
Yes.
I think within the Ministry of Agriculture, we have the agriculture extension officers. These are the frontline soldiers of extension.
Yeah.
So what we do within the extension, that we meet farmers through extension meetings. That's where we can share information. We also make use of the local radio services. You know, under NBC, we have the agriculture slot where we can communicate with farmers. We also do the distribution of leaflets, brochures to farmers, which can be still be translated in local language so that the farmers can be aware of it. This is just to add on what he just has mentioned.
Okay. We stay with Ms. Matengu on this one, and we want to enhance that. You mentioned a few information dissemination activities. Now, the next question we would like to ask, are there any activities by the ministry that speak to elements such as evaluation, monitoring, and planning when it comes to, with regards to these type of issues on the subsistence farming level? And if yes, what is the frequency at which these activities take place?
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to say that currently we don't have some of those platforms. However, we have come up with we are in the process of establishing the plant health task force.
Yes.
We have already identified stakeholders from different institutions who are involved, so that at least we come together, develop something which we can be sharing with farmers to make sure that at least the monitoring, surveillance, and control is effective and efficient.
Okay.
So this is what we are coming up with.
Okay. Agriculture has always been influenced by actions of government globally. As much as it is older than the history that some of us know, our governing bodies in our countries tend to have an influence on it. We would like to know, is this the case in Namibia, especially when it comes to aids from government's side deemed to be targeted for those behind the red line? And I think we can start with from the youth perspective, and then we can bring it to you.
Yeah. Before I touch to that, I just wanted to add more on what Meme said on the kinds of engagement activities that are taking place in the rural settings
for evaluation and planning.
For either for evaluation or for capacity building. Such as that the youth in agriculture has developed some concepts. We call it agriculture building and capacity development, of where in each and every region we have an integration program of where the farmers are being brought to a workshop, and they are being taught on the whole concept of agriculture. Firstly, on the pest control. Secondly, on delivering economic returns from their fields. Thirdly, on keeping the records of financial perspective and the budgeting in agriculture. And fourthly, for the issue of the market access, to ensure that they are capacitated with enough knowledge on where to sell their produces, how they can sell their produces to the market, and in case of an export, what kinds of documentation or requirement you needed to have to ensure that your produces reach the targeted market. So on the issue of regarding now your question of how does the government policies influence the operation of the agricultural sector, it's important that to highlight that the government policies, determine the success of the agricultural sector. Such as one of the most impressive policies that it has impact on, and that we are also really grateful for, is that there is such policies where the government closed the importation of some of the produces into the country because the local producers are able to sustain the demand in the economy. We have seen such as maybe for cucumbers, for cabbages, for spinach, and these are the kinds of the policies that also they don't just motivate the farmers to produce more, but at least the farmers can also have an opportunity to be able to sell or to compete in the market, and not just to compete with the giant markets from the overseas. And this is how we also promote the inclusivity of SMEs in the sector and empowering them to ensure that they have an opportunity for economic returns or economic operation in the country. And also, whether at the issue of budgeting, budgeting of the agriculture is not just about buying the equipment, but it also helps with the fundamental of capacitating the research institution in the specific sector for us to industrialize better, or for us to cope or to bring in the modern way of doing farming to ensure that our way of doing farming is advanced and is able to compete at a global market.
Yes.
And for instance, like budgeting, where I always emphasize that the African Union at large adopted a resolution that at least that encourage the African government to increase the budget, at least to increase the budget allocation of agriculture to 10%. However, what is happening in most cases, we allocated a very small budget to agriculture, such as giving it only 5%. I mean, less than 5%, not even in the middle half of the allocation that it's supposed to have. And to set, to honestly, for us, if we want to improve agriculture, we have to drive away from the old way of doing farming to modernize, and all this require farming. It requires, machineries. It requires, agri-digital, the technologies, the research, such as we have academic institution doing research on weather, on kinds of the producers that can fully cope with the land, with the kind of the land that we have, or with the soil, or with the minerals, or with the water, and all this, at the end of the day, will have a very great impact on the success or the failure of the agricultural sector.
Very true, very true. Ms. Matengo?
Thank you very much. I think I concur with what the previous speaker just said. In Namibia, when it comes, more especially, let me just focus a bit on the plant pests and diseases.
Yes.
You'll see that the monitoring, surveillance, and control is done by government. And also, government has a lot of programs which is offering farmers with the subsidized prices. For example, the Horticulture Support Initiative is one of the programs within the Ministry of Agriculture, which is the government, and they also is targeted to subsistence farmers, small-scale farmers, that they can able to buy pesticides on subsidy. We have a lot of programs. We have the dry and crop production program currently, which is running, which is also farmers can buy seeds, improve the seed, fertilizer, the plowing services, which is done also on the
government.
with the subsidized price. Just to mention that, to be honest, government is spending millions of dollars, most especially when it comes to the control of the pests. We have seen it with the locusts. We've used both the ground and aerial spraying, which is a very big cost. Literally, the government is involved in the whole value chain, from land preparation up to the marketing, including plant protection as part of it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, it is a mission that needs to be embarked by all, and it seems that the two panelists that we have here seem to be in consensus with each other. But before we round off, Ms. Matengu, or Mr. Haikali, actually, maybe very shortly, in a time frame of just 1 minute, what would you tell or advise us is the time period between pesticide application and produce consumption. This is based on the different stages of production. Very shortly, briefly, our time has
Well, I think
unfortunately
I will
run out.
let Mehmet to touch on that based
Okay.
on the time period.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, I'll say that normally what we do with the pesticide, every pesticide we have, it has a label.
Yeah.
The label gives a prescription on when, if you apply, when should you harvest and when should it be consumed.
Okay.
But also we are saying, if you do the application, most especially when we know that the crop has reached maturity,
Yes.
the best is to report to the extension officers, let them advise you on what's supposed to be done.
Yes.
Because if some farmers may not able to read,
Yes,
and
yes.
also on the application, we need at least the extension officers to be there.
Yeah.
Because we were saying the safe handling of pesticides is very important here.
Yes.
Otherwise, the farmer might do it and immediately may touch something and find himself drinking water or
Exactly,
eating something when he's still
exactly.
having, before he
Okay.
washes hands. So the
Yeah.
best is to have someone with the knowledge.
Yeah.
So the best, when they have those situations, they must report to the agriculture extension officers.
Yeah.
They will assist them.
Okay, okay. So there we have it. I think the most important thing to take away from this session is the fact that there are people that are assigned and well vested in knowing how to handle the chemicals, the processes, and so on that goes into pest management. There are extension officers. There are Ministry of Agriculture officers in the regions. Please do make an effort to approach these officers if you do have a problem with pests at any of your levels, because sometimes you might actually be a huge farm, what do you call it? Commercial farmer, but then you're hit with something that is not common to you. So it is always advisable for us to approach the relevant officers so that we can get the right assistance. And with regards to communication, if you do not understand certain labels, certain wording, please also do find somebody who does understand in order to assist you to ensure that your endeavor to try and control the pest in order to ensure a high yield does not end up in you risking your lives. So with that said, we would like to actually thank the panelists that came in this afternoon. Ms. Taikali, Ms. Matengo, thank you very much for being with us to talk about this very pertinent issue amongst our nation's people, because a lot of us are involved in subsistence farming. I would like to thank you very much and also invite you to our session on Wednesday, which will be taking place at 3 o'clock here at the Government Information Center. From myself, Shianwa Desire Kahiha, along with my production crew, we would like to say thank you and bye-bye.